The holiday season is a time when families come together to celebrate and have fun. But it is also the time that they may feel the loss of a loved one most deeply. The painful waves that can wash over people at this time of year are a part of grief, an overwhelming emotion that can last longer than you think. For the son and the brother you're about to meet, it's been 10 years, but during that time they have come to a new and valuable understanding of the grieving process. As Lynn Sure discovered, it has helped them through a difficult time, and one day it might also help you.
Please say in unison with me, by all that I hold highest.
This is a story about living and dying, and especially about healing. It took Rob Biter 4 grueling years of medical school to earn the degree that will allow him to take care of others, an achievement he and his family proudly celebrate today.
Dr. Robert Michael Biter.
But it's taken Rob more than twice that long to treat the anguish in his own soul, a passage of pain that strikes especially deep on this red-letter day, because someone very important is missing.
I remember just looking up at graduation and telling him I did it because I was fulfilling a dream that was initially mine, but soon became my dad's.
Rob's father, Len, died when he was only 40 in 1988 after a 4-year battle with colon cancer, ironically at the very same medical center in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where Rob would later be trained. Left behind in Crescent, Pennsylvania, were his wife Beverly, his daughter Jody, Rob, who was just 17, and an infant son, Brandon. Len, who was an electrician, passionately shared Rob's boyhood yearning to become a doctor.
I just remember him saying, and this is my young Dr. Robbie.
And now you are Dr. Robbie.
Yeah.
Robbie's tale might end there with a wistful salute to the dad long gone from the son who made the dream come true. But at 26, this newly minted physician can already teach us something about healing.
Hey, guys. Mom. Hey.
In mourning for his father, he's gained great insight into an emotion that seizes and baffles us all: grief.
Hey, this is my Aunt Thelma. Hi. Thanks.
It's been agonizing for Rob and his Uncle Bob, Len's older brother. But the insights have helped them both to heal and to get through the saddest parts of this otherwise glorious graduation day.
It was quite a day. Mixed emotions.
Now it's doctor. I can't call you Rob anymore.
Real happy for Rob, but brought back bad memories. After the emotions of the bad wore off, it was a great day because, you felt that Len could only have been there. It would have been a great day for him.
Champagne.
The major lesson they've learned is a simple one: that grief lasts far longer than expected, that it's a process which takes time and is by no means an isolated event. Bob and Rob's experience challenges the common wisdom that at some point grieving comes to an end and you just get over it.
Does it surprise you that grief can last this long?
Yes. Years ago, if anyone would have told me this, I would have said, "You're nuts." But it takes time. I don't know how long, because it hasn't been long enough yet.
And it's been 10 years.
That's right.
And that's the way it is for most of us, according to Dr. Jimmy Holland, a psychiatrist at New York's Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Dr. Holland, recognized as a world authority on bereavement, says her profession has taken a new look at this universal process because so many patients seem confused by accepted custom.
We have put pressure on people to say you have a certain amount of time to grieve and get on with it. We don't want to hear any more about your grief.
Dr. Holland says that recent popular notions about grief, that it ends after we pass through such predictable stages as denial, anger, then acceptance, are not only wrong, they can be harmful.
We saw people in the medical world accepting those stages and expecting and putting people into boxes and trying to move them along and being very rigid about it. And if you didn't go through stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you were abnormal in some way. Well, wrong. You can't do this to people.
Rob Biter felt that pressure from the beginning.
Well, I wondered what it meant that I never was angry, why wasn't I angry that he left? Did that mean that I didn't love my father as much as I should have?
Your Uncle Bob says you adored your father.
Yeah. I mean, he was just so large, so loud, so friendly, and
Rob, you're sitting there. It's clearly an emotional moment. Your father died 10 years ago. How often does it happen that you think about him and you can get that emotional?
You never know. You never know when it's going to hit you. And usually when you're not prepared.
A wave of grief that comes over the person. It's like out of the blue like that, and the wave will come back again. It's like it hits you in the stomach, and it makes you feel like it's overwhelming for a few minutes, that sense of loss. And then it goes away.
Are these waves that you're describing normal?
They are normal.
But they are not constant. In fact, both Rob and his Uncle Bob, with the help of his wife, Thelma, have carried on with their lives just like the rest of us.
This used to be very high, Brent.
But when those waves do hit, they can really pull you under.
The most painful moment was I was just driving down the road, and I saw somebody who looked like my dad, and I was overwhelmed. I had to pull off the side of the road because I'd forgotten what he looked like. I'd forgotten his mannerisms and the sound of his voice.
There you are, brand new.
Are there times when you've gone through this process where you've said to yourself, it's been 5 years, it's been 8 years, why am I still feeling this way?
Well, I think I've been lucky because having gone to medical school and had the experience of watching many families deal with this, that I've come to realize that grief is lifelong. And it was an incredible relief for me.
His Uncle Bob wasn't so lucky. He wasn't able to accept his grief until just a few years ago. Before that, when the occasional wave would crash over him, triggered by his brother's birthday, for instance, he felt ashamed.
Why?
You think it's a man thing?
Were you sort of chastising yourself?
Yes, I think to a certain extent.
What did you say to yourself? What did you think?
You know, why are you doing this? You know, you have to learn to let go. You tell other people to let go, but you can't do it yourself.
Despite years of berating himself, Bob has recently come to a more peaceful feeling about his grief.
And what did you learn?
I learned, I think, over time that this is normal. This is the way things are, and accept it, get through it, and go on.
He's a wise man. And those kinds of waves can come back for years and years and years for some people. There are other people who don't experience that, and they shouldn't feel guilty that they don't, because your pattern of grief is as unique as your pattern of love.
But few people understand that the grieving process is necessary, something most people want to share.
After the funeral, when people bring ham and all the cakes and all the things that are supposed to make you feel better, 3 days later, they forget. You know, they don't come back when it's lonely again.
And that's when you need them.
Certainly.
Why is it so difficult for so many people in our society to deal with another person's grief?
It brings up our own vulnerability that, gee, that could happen to me. And so I think there is an avoidance of the grieving person.
Is another reason that people feel so awkward about it because somehow they don't want to trigger a great wave of crying. They don't want you to suddenly break down.
And that's important to realize, that those waves of grief, as painful as they are, and as much as the person would like to avoid them, really shouldn't be avoided, because the crying is good.
Someone who comes up to you while you're grieving, what should they do to make you feel better or not make you feel worse?
If they want to talk to me, that's fine. I would like that. But if they want to try to talk me out of it, I don't think that'll work.
For Rob, perhaps the greatest revelation since his father's death is that the waves of grieving are definitely not a matter of self-indulgence.
Is it cleansing? Is it helpful to go through that grieving process over and over that way?
Yes, I think so.
Is that wallowing in your grief?
I don't think so. You know, when someone dies, the only thing you have left is grief. It's an intense emotional connection to the person that you lost.
You're telling me that you welcome this emotion, this grief, this very, very strong feeling.
Absolutely.
Rob's point is profound. We should not avoid grief, we should embrace it.
Does that mean that you can never have a good life, a happy life?
Not at all. It says, to me, it's a sort of sign of strength that you can preserve this special relationship and still move on with your life.
And that's another way of saying it's okay to hang on to material objects from the person you've lost. For Rob, it's this '66 Cutlass convertible his father gave him on his 16th birthday. He says he'll never part with it.
I remember my father saying, "How would you like to drive this to medical school?" And now I'm driving it, you know, as a new doctor. And it's a comfort. It's something that was in my life when my father was in my life and is still here.
Bob still cherishes what's known as Len's Garage, where Len kept the stock cars he once raced, a hangout for the guys in town. After Len died, Bob bought the garage.
I didn't need the building.
Well, this is obviously a very special place for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about the building.
Well, like I said, I didn't need it. But wanted it.
Because it was his?
Yeah.
Now, some people might look at that and say, my God, he goes down there and he, you know,
Hangs
it's his
out.
brother's building. Isn't that a little weird?
I don't think it's weird at all. I mean, I think it gives him a good feeling. It gives him some sense of connection to Len, his brother. And if that makes him feel good, why not?
The same goes for Rob's convertible.
He loves that car. Enjoy.
And it's okay.
It's okay, and it should be encouraged, not discouraged.
She says those who have suffered a major loss should also be supported if the experience helps shape their lives. Rob was particularly moved by the unnecessary guilt his father felt about not beating cancer.
I felt that it must have affected him to such a degree that nobody ever said, "It's not your fault, it's okay." He told me that he didn't want us to be mad at him.
What was it he didn't want you to be mad at him for?
When it came to the end that he wasn't going to win, that's what he wanted us to forgive him.
That conversation led Rob to concentrate his medical career on palliative care. That means he'll work with people for whom there is no cure and try to ease their physical and emotional pain, to help them have what his father missed. But to continue to take good care of himself, Rob says he's also realized he needs a balance.
Okay, so let's see how we're doing.
So he's chosen a practice in obstetrics and gynecology. This will allow him to work both with parents who are bringing new life into the world, as well as other women suffering from cancer, whose lives may be coming to an end.
Being a doctor is an incredible opportunity for me to be there at people's most emotional moments, whether their baby's being born or whether they're dying.
Bob has poured much of the grief he's felt into helping Rob, doing what he can to fill in for Len, above all on important occasions like graduation.
Now, am I going to sit around and wait for your call? Probably not.
If you could talk to your brother right now, what would you say to him?
Probably, it probably would be about Rob and how this kid did it, you know.
Do you think this goes on for another 10, 20, 30 years in your life, that these waves will keep coming, you'll feel this way?
Absolutely. And every new experience will be something that I would have wanted to share with my father. Good, okay. When I become a father one day, I will have wanted my father to be there. You don't forget.
We got a baby! Hey, it's a boy! Rob was right! Good job!
Congratulations, guys!
Yeah, great job! Happy birthday, buddy!
I found meaning in my father's death. This person who was an electrician, who raced stock cars, taught me more about medicine than many professors with 5 degrees. So I have a whole life to hopefully keep my dad alive and those memories.
His father would have been very proud. Lynn, so many people say, get over it, move on. But you've had your own personal experiences with deep grief.
Well, I have, Barbara, and I must tell you, I came to a lot of these same conclusions myself, and I found the fact that other people have come to them and that the professionals are now saying that very comforting. It is very helpful to understand that you don't need to fit into a box. You don't need to go through certain stages. You can deal with it in your own way, and the fact is the grief is a connection to the person you've lost. You don't ever want to lose that.
And you don't have to just move on. You know that expression, get over it.
You know, it has absolutely no place in this kind of thing. The better news is that you can think about these things, put them in the right place. You certainly can get on with your life. You can't get over someone you've loved.
Christmas time, holiday times makes it worse, doesn't it?
It
Or
could,
better,
yeah. Well, this could trigger a lot of those waves. The best advice to people is ride with them, go with it. You'll get through the season just fine.
Happy holidays.
And you too. Thank you.
Thank you.